I know we must learn to stand together, learn to live together, learn it's not forever. I know.
All right. Welcome to The Middle, Politics and Profanity. I am your host, Ronnie Wright. My trusted companion, the Ahab to my Moby Dick, I normally don't like to brag, is Justin.
What's up, everyone?
Good afternoon,
Hello.
sir.
Hey,
And back behind the glass, doing the exact opposite of Kung Fu Theater. He is making sure that my lips align with the words that are coming out of my mouth. It's Ryan.
Do you
What's
understand
going
the
on,
words
my friend?
that are
I
coming
understand
out
you
of
just
my
got over
mouth?
a bout of Trump derangement syndrome. How you feeling?
Orange.
Yeah, very good. That's exactly what the doctor wants to hear. But don't tell him that, because then they'll cut off the prescription medication.
How would you rate our healthcare system on a scale of 1 to 7?
2.
2? Very good. Very good.
Okay.
That's
That
pretty
was
good for, what it is.
Right.
That might be generous.
Did they make you wear the assless chaps? Oh no,
Yes.
that's the gay bar. I'm sorry. Did they make you wear the little gown with the ass hanging out?
Yeah.
Cool.
I thought that's what you meant by assless chaps.
I was wondering how quickly you're going to answer. Awesome.
The last time I was there, they stuck a tube down my nose, but I was just glad they didn't stick it somewhere else.
Yeah, right. Yeah, given the options, the nose seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're back and you're better than ever.
Yep.
Yeah, let's not go that far. But you're back.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm still sick.
There you go, man. Exactly that. And that's why we keep him sealed and isolated in the Harold Broadcasting Control Center.
It also helps for capitalism.
What helps for capitalism?
His continuing sickness.
Absolutely, man. They don't want to cure you, dude. They're never going to cure you. There's a cure right now for you somewhere in the CDC, and they're never going to let you have it.
It's stem
Yeah,
cells.
I know. That's why we're at a 2. Maybe a 1.
There you go. It's stem cells.
Bad.
It's people. It's people. They're making it from people. Oh, man. Whole shitload of things have happened. We had the week off last week to make sure Ryan was getting better, and a lot of things have happened in between there. But you know what? Let's start with this. Was a lot of hurricane news this week, and more than just for one hurricane. But Hurricane Florence just touched down yesterday and started flooding all kinds of areas in North Carolina, South Carolina. And
I purposely overworked just because when I don't work a lot, then I'm bored and I watch the news. And I just knew what it was going to be the whole time.
You knew there was going to be a box in the lower right-hand corner.
This is a really great opportunity for me to write a lot.
I mean, it was just nonstop. It's almost here. Back to you. And shit's whipping by, trees are like
worst.
falling over. This could be devastating if you haven't found high ground yet. It's like, give me a break already, man. See, we're in Florida, folks, so this is nothing new to us. But we're glad it was only, I think they said there's 13 people total that died.
Well, those numbers.
It's fake news.
You can do whatever you want with numbers.
Right, it's fake news. The 13 people didn't die. It was just, liberals wanted to make Hurricane Florence
They
look
might
bad.
have died anyway. Think about all the lives that were saved from people not being murdered that day.
Well, that's true, because you know what I mean. It's really hard.
Everyone's
for
panicking,
people
so there's
to get
no
around.
gang violence in the streets.
Another creepy thought is that when they evacuate people to these little evacuation centers and stuff, you can just be sure that someone in that evacuation center with you is a serial killer.
Oh yeah,
Just putting it out there, just in case you felt really safe because there's Red Cross guys around.
There's probably a bunch of serial killers in the country, and then you get like the one out of 10,000 people.
Right.
There's probably a few hundred very prominent like psychos out there, just roaming the streets.
Maybe not serial killers yet.
Right. We have 350 million people. The numbers alone on just the percentages, even the low estimates, there are some crazies out there.
Yeah, even by accident, you're striking up a conversation with a murderer.
Right.
How'd we get there? All right, so Hurricane Florence came in, during the endless end-to-end coverage of Hurricane Florence. There was, I don't know if you saw this, there was a a briefing from the U.S. Coast Guard to one of the news organizations on camera. And the guy behind him, the spokesperson during the briefing, there's guys at the table working the crisis room there.
Yeah.
He flashed the white power sign.
Oh, I did not see that.
He goes over his head and he flashes the white power thing. And
Is
it
there
was
like a thing?
completely, you could tell he was like this at first, and then he put his hand forward in the white power symbol and brought it forward.
Is that what it is? Like
yeah,
an okay thing near your ear?
It's basically that. It's okay.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the pictures they paint them
because this is the W
right.
and that's the P.
Oh,
white
what the
power.
fuck! I never knew
so
that.
usually people are like,
Where's the
I
more
believe it's
you
like
know
upside
star?
down.
We need the star. The more you
right,
know.
right. The more you know. Ding, ding, ding. So this asshole, I mean, in the middle of a hurricane, he works for the Coast Guard and sees that there's a camera over his shoulder. Literally looks over his shoulder, sees the guy is talking, so he knows the camera's on, and he flashed the white power symbol. I mean, it was so blatant that people called it out right away.
Yeah.
And the guy right away got removed from whatever the fuck it was
he
was
have
doing.
a response right away?
There was no response from the person.
There's no.
It's just crazy. Those guys used to like hide. Like,
right.
They didn't used to be out in public and flashing symbols on
It had
TV.
been well. It went through a period where it was really on the DL because in the going into the 80s and the early 90s, it started to become super taboo. But you had leftovers from the 70s, especially in the Deep South.
Right.
Like you still had the old boys clubs in certain towns, like running little councils, deciding zoning and shit.
Right.
And then as you come into the 80s and 90s, the birth of the internet, it kind of moves onto the internet and becomes really like not. It took a long time.
It went from Doc Martens and suspenders to suits.
Right.
I mean, that's basically what they did. They redid their whole.
And I remember when my dad first moved down here in the late 90s, he would tell me that there was still a high white power influence around here. And I didn't believe him being up from Northeast. And
up until, I think, the early 90s, there was a KKK chapter here in St. Lucie County.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yep.
So, yeah, it went down for a while. And now we had a couple other presidents. Now we got this Trump guy. Yeah. And then suddenly it's back.
Yeah. Because a lot of these
How about
guys,
them facts?
Sebastian Gorka, and the Breitbart guy, and Stephen Miller, and all these other dudes who are just, I mean, there's no other way to say it. They're flat out white supremacists, white nationalists. So, it becomes a thing now. So that guy got seen, and I'm glad that the reaction still is, "Hey, dude, you're being removed from your position because that's fucked up and unacceptable." The time that it does not become fucked up and unacceptable, that's when we should all start worrying.
Oh yeah, now we're in a new game.
I mean, I don't have to worry that much because I'm a white man,
right?
But I care about people in general, and it doesn't make a difference if I'm the one they're coming for or not. I'm not going to let anybody come for anybody, who's American.
It does. It comes down to team people.
Yeah, man, it is.
It's like,
right.
Why are you fucking with everyone?
Right. I mean, deep down, man, we're all the same. Everybody looks the same on the inside. So, anyway, so that was not even the first hurricane issue this week. The first hurricane issue this week was when our fearless leader was confronted with the revised casualty estimates from Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico last year. And when faced with the prospect of acknowledging almost 3,000 people having died as a result of the hurricane and or the aftermath and lack of timely response, he said that was fake news. That
totally necessary to comment on that.
Right. The Democrats were using it as a way to make him look bad.
Ahead of the midterms.
I have a message for the president. The Democrats do not need to give you any assistance in making you look bad. If there's one thing that you are fucking awesome at, it is making yourself look bad.
Right. Like, you're providing the ammunition, dude.
Right. I mean, just think about it, like a U.S. president saying 9/11 didn't happen. Those people that died on September 11th, that's fake news. All the first responders who now have cancer from being down there and breathing they're not really sick. They're just loafers. They're trying to get money off the government so they can live, on the government till. I mean, You would not vote for a president that said that kind of
it's
thing. I mean,
nuts.
most normal people would not.
It's crazy.
So this guy's like, no, those 3,000 people didn't die. It's like, well, Mr. President, they had George Washington University, they purposely knew this was going to happen. So they went and they got a third party independently of professors and scientists and guys to come in and commission a study and looked at all the aftermath of the hurricane and the death rates as compared to, when it wasn't a fucking hurricane.
Right.
And they were able to determine, like, oh, wow, there was 3,000 more people that died from issues that obviously came from not having power, from not having water, and all those kinds of things.
Food, medical attention, the whole nine.
And here's
the
the thing.
destruction of a country kills people.
And here's the thing. The real kicker is he's disputing that they died because of the hurricane.
Oh, he's getting into the semantics of it. I know. That's the line.
He
It's
said,
like,
well,
is
if
it
somebody
direct
died of
deaths?
like old age. He literally tweeted this shit out. Remember, tweets are official statements from this White House.
Yeah.
So he tweeted out that somebody died of old age. They put it down as they died from the hurricane to make me look bad. So we're talking about an actual person who died, whether it's old age, whether they stepped on a nail and got infected and they died from the infection, or whether they got hit on the head with a fucking tree from the hurricane.
Yeah.
This is a person with a family
If
who
the
died.
hurricane caused them to die 1 minute earlier than they might not have, you should take it seriously,
Right.
period.
How about
It's super simple.
those 3,000 people who are dead were not made up?
Yeah.
They're 3,000 people who actually died, can show death certificates and everything. So he's sitting there and taking a big dump on 3,000 dead American citizens
It's foolish.
because it makes him look bad. And it's like, well, up until this point, it really didn't make you look that bad. Like, yeah, maybe the government response was slow and, you come out and you say, hey, well, you know what? We'll do better next time. Because people are forgiving.
There's any measured response to this is going to be better than what he did.
Which is to devalue the lives of people.
Yeah, like
for his political gain.
nuts.
Fucking crazy. So, of course, that was as the hurricane was literally on its way to making landfall in America. He was talking about the last list of casualties of a hurricane in America not being real.
It's not good enough.
Yeah, we expect just a tiny bit more from our president. You'd like to have him have some basis in reality for his comments. But you know what? This is the world of Trump, and we've moved past facts and reality, and we just live in a fantasy world where things don't matter anymore. So that was how we started this week. So let me go back to a little bit of the big story prior to the hurricane comments and the hurricane actual, which is Brett Kavanaugh, who may be on the way to being our next Supreme Court justice. Had his hearings during last week and the week before. They finished up this past week, and some senators out there are still undecided. Mitch McConnell, the majority leader in the Senate, actually was reportedly had told President Trump that this was the worst guy to pick. Because he had worked so long in the George W. Bush White House, along with trying to help them maneuver through the, torture's not torture kind of thing that they went through for a while.
Okay.
Like, torture's okay if we do it.
Right.
Because, they're our enemy. And it's like, well, yeah, but, we signed a thing, the Geneva Conventions, like, a long time ago, that we should probably stick to because it's worked so far.
Yeah.
So he was involved in all that kind of stuff and lots of other shenanigans during his time in Washington. And so the reason that McConnell didn't want him to be placed as the nominee is that the guy has a fucking paper trail a mile long. Because remember, all those things are subject to Freedom of Information Act and all that kind of
those
stuff.
cases, everything.
Right.
Yeah.
All the cases, all the memos that he signed off on, all the emails that he sent.
And a lot of people don't know, when you try cases at his level and stuff like that, what you're doing in a lot of your paperwork and documents is you're writing your opinion about the case. Like, judges will often write exactly what they're thinking, the line of logic they follow to come to the ruling. Like, all this stuff is laid out in the official documents of the court. It's not like this is just in his head and we're making critical assumptions.
Like, we're making judgment calls because he
this is
voted
what the people think, man.
for or against something, you know, as an opinion on a judicial.
You can buy books of judicial opinions from old Supreme Court justices.
So this is where they went, because the Trump White House suppressed 97% of the documents on this guy.
And then isn't Booker trying to leak some and stuff?
He put something. Well, that was the funny part.
Yeah.
Is that he put something out.
The original thing with him was nonsense with Booker, because he like put it out and it was out already.
And that's what they said. And then they said, well, we don't know. I don't understand why this is going to be some kind of a thing that he's putting out there, because they've already been approved, they've been released.
Yeah.
Flash forward a day later, and Senator John Cornyn and a couple other Republicans are saying, oh, we're going to wind up moving forward with an ethics investigation. It's like, well, wait a minute. Didn't you guys say that those documents were okayed for release? So then how is that an ethics violation?
Right.
Like, is it, I don't know, just because he's the only black guy up there?
Yeah, right.
I mean, really, you're gonna pull him over like driving while black? Being senator while black is what you're going to charge him with? Because how can you charge him with an ethics violation if you guys were so quick to say, oh, with your big grandstanding, those have already been released for viewing for the public. So then
what's the problem
What's
here?
the problem then?
Yeah.
Let him do his I am Spartacus moment. Good for him. I mean, people do a lot of goofy things when they're thinking about running for president.
Yeah.
To test the water.
Yeah.
And so that was something. And really, when you think about it, he was trying to do something which was, in the end, to expose some of the things that these guys were shadily
hiding. The underlying
hiding.
deal here was pretty normal.
This guy's like 50 years old, and it's a lifetime appointment for the Supreme Court, so we could be seeing him for the next 35, 40 years. Right. I mean, that's a serious thing. So they went through his opinions. And, some of the senators that were on the fence on the Republican side, at least one of them anyway, was Lisa Murkowski of Alaska.
Okay.
So Mazie Hirono, who's the Democratic senator from Hawaii, brought up some opinions that this guy had written about Native Americans. And he questioned whether Native Hawaiians qualified as indigenous people. And therefore, if they were not indigenous people, they were not eligible to receive any of the benefits that indigenous people receive, such as Native American Indians.
Right.
And she said, that's troubling for me because, of course, Native Hawaiians are an indigenous people. They were an independent Polynesian society before, the white masters came and took the fucking place over.
There's no secret here.
Right. We've done it before. It was a rinse and repeat as necessary kind of a maneuver.
Yeah.
Well, she said, this should not only trouble me, but this should trouble my colleague from the great state of Alaska, Mr. Republican Senator, because I know that if he questions the validity of the indigenous people for Hawaiians, wouldn't he question the validity of the indigenous people of Alaska? Yeah. Native Eskimos? Are they not Native Americans too? So she was giving her an out, a reason that she could legitimately say no. And it's not like in America, like Native Americans as a voting bloc are pretty small.
Yeah.
In the state of Alaska, they're the biggest group.
Ooh.
They're the biggest political action group in the state of Alaska. So if you do not have the indigenous people with you, you don't win. And in fact, Senator Murkowski got beat in a primary her last election, and she had to go in as a write-in candidate.
Oh, wow.
And because the indigenous people went out and got her on, they're the ones who got her elected. And in fact, the tribal leader said, we had more Eskimos learning how to spell Murkowski because they had to write it in on every fucking ballot. And she got elected because of them.
Wow.
So now she's getting a lot of pressure because these people are like, hey, fuck this asshole.
Yeah.
We're Native American
so they
people.
Go hard on
right.
Yeah.
So that's one vote.
Yeah.
They just need one more. And they were trying to get Susan Collins from Maine, the Republican from Maine.
Okay.
And there's a group online. They wound up opening up an account on, I think it's GoFundMe. and they're raising money. And they said the money is either going to go to Susan Collins as a donation to her campaign fund if she votes yes, if she votes no on this Kavanaugh guy going to the Supreme Court. If she votes yes on him, it's going to go to her opponent in the next election. So at first it was like, yeah, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's currently at $1.3 million.
Holy shit. So it just blew up.
So she said, well, that's a bribe. And I'm like, well, if donations from private citizens you consider a bribe, what the fuck do you consider corporate and PAC donations?
Yeah, right? It's not a bribe at all.
Yeah, that sounds a little fishy, man. It sounds like it's a bribe because, you know, you don't want to vote the way they want you to vote.
Oh, wow. That kind of circumvented our little system here.
Oh, see how that works?
Yeah.
See, corporations get away with it all the time. We don't think anything of it.
Right.
The senators and congressmen vote with corporations because they put money in their reelection campaigns. So if people are able to start doing that at that level by putting everything together, thanks to GoFundMe and Kickstarter and all these other, you know, online funding sites, well, that kind of changes the game. So this one group, and God, I should have wrote it down, but they have literally jumped on top of this and made it like, hey, if we can do this, anybody can do this. So pick your guy and say, hey, this can all be yours if the price is right. And if it's not, then I'll just give it to your opponent and make him a contender instantly.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, just one more little level of accountability. So one of the things that Brett Kavanaugh, what Democrats, of course, are scared about is because he is violently anti-Roe v. Wade.
Right.
And to him, he says it's not settled precedent, which is crazy because it's been upheld multiple times at the Supreme Court level, because the court can change its mind at any time. And it's like, well, I mean, okay, I guess Congress could change its mind at any time and, you know, make capital murder punishable by 10 years.
Yeah.
Instead of the death penalty. But they probably won't.
No.
So he, during his confirmation, was talking with Senator Ted Cruz, my favorite. Eddie Munster, as we like to, right. Eddie Munster, as we like to call him. So in his questioning, you know how these senators do it, they kind of just lead the guy along with a little storyline. So his storyline was about the Hobby Lobby lawsuit. Do you know about the Hobby Lobby lawsuit?
I remember something about that. This is a religious... Did this have to do with the pill?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember.
So it was a religious exemption case.
Yeah.
Where the owners of Hobby Lobby are very big Christian zealots. And they, under the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, were being mandated to offer healthcare plans that included contraception, birth control for women. And they reasoned that as an employer, they could not be forced to go against their religious beliefs by offering plans with the pill on it. Which, by the way, is as ridiculous as saying a group of Muslims file suit to force SNAP, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, otherwise known as food stamps, to not be able to be used on pork because it offends their religious sensibilities.
Right. This is fucking...
I mean, these are two men that are saying that women can't have contraception through their healthcare plans if they work for Hobby Lobby.
So it feels like in that situation, what happened was they were being forced to give insurance. And they needed to figure out a way to save that money.
Right.
So they're like, oh, we're a religious organization. We can't do birth control.
And
what fucking insurance on the planet doesn't offer birth control?
Right. And it's not saying you have to pay for abortions.
Yeah.
It's just saying you have to pay for contraception.
Right.
So when...
Such a little thing.
he got in front of Ted Cruz, he referred to the pill as abortion-inducing drugs.
Whoa.
And
Powerful.
It's like, I mean, there's times, and this guy's a pretty educated guy. There's times when somebody who's really educated says something, and you just know, they know that's not right.
Yeah.
That's not correct what they just said. He said it for a specific audience.
Right.
Because how can a guy who's going to be a Supreme Court justice not know?
That moment happens more and more often now, especially.
Right, where you have to be like, oh, please, come now. I know that you're not, but there's, the 30-something% of knuckleheads out there that are going to believe it lock, stock, and barrel.
Yeah.
But just in case you're listening at home and for some reason you stumbled across this show, the pill is not an abortion-inducing drug. It helps you to not get impregnated, not to end a pregnancy.
We have pills that like save lives and prevent pain but the pill, one that we call the pill, that's a powerful one.
Well, so after that, Senator Kamala Harris had him for questioning, and she said to him, off the top of your head, can you tell me any laws where the government is able to legislate and have power over a man's body?
Okay. What did he say?
Just like that. He sat in silence. And then he said, well, they're you talking about men? Yes, men. Is there any laws you can think of where the government has the right to legislate over a man's body? Well, not that I could think of off the top of my head. Yeah, the reason you can't think of one because there is none.
Right.
And there never will be one. Because it's a bunch of white guys that run
I don't
America.
even know what that would look like.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right. But we are all able to accept the fact that the government legislates what a woman can do with her body.
Weird.
And we think like it's nothing of it until somebody like, a really brilliant woman senator brings it up. Right. And says, hey, you're going to be in a court that decides these kind of things. So, can you think of any
Do you
laws?
have anything to say at all?
He was literally,
substance.
He was like, exactly. So,
we could go back to a real dark time in history where those laws were part of our society, like the Roman times with eunuchs and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's this, and I wish I would have grabbed it for a tweet of the week. She's a writer. She actually a Mormon wife of and mother of like 5 or 6 kids, and she put a really cogent argument out there on Twitter that really unwanted pregnancies, if we want to stop them, because in reality, abortion is the symptom of the disease of unwanted pregnancies. So if we want to treat the disease of unwanted pregnancies, it's all on men.
Okay.
Because men can very simply and easily not cause unwanted pregnancies. And no matter how many times a woman ejaculates, she will never cause an unwanted pregnancy.
Right.
However, a man has that opportunity each and every time.
Yes, that's correct.
Right. So if we want to really cure the root disease of unwanted pregnancies and therefore abortions to get rid of unwanted pregnancies, it would be on the men. Now, the women who take the pill, and my wife had done it for years, suffer a lot of side effects.
Yeah, they're terrible for
they're
you.
terrible side effects. It's a terrible drug for you. But women are expected to take it if they do not want an unwanted pregnancy.
Yeah.
Okay?
The onus is definitely on them.
The male version of contraception
Nobody ever talks about that.
has been something that they've been working on for decades. A male pill.
Right.
That would stop sperm production, but still have you have sex and ejaculate. Well, the last time it came up, they killed it again because the side effects. Even though the side effects listed were a third of the side effects listed for women's contraceptive pill.
We're not used to it yet, all right? You can't just go into it.
Like, we fucking fast-tracked the hard-on pill. Viagra was like, let's fast-track it and make sure that every insurance policy covers it.
The first guy to realize it might be possible. That guy was on a journey.
So where were the Christian guys out there to say, I'm not going to give a healthcare plan that covers Viagra?
Yeah. Fuck, good luck with that.
Right. Because a bunch of dirty old white Christian guys that can't get it up anymore are like, no, fuck that, man.
Yeah.
I need my pill. So these are some of the issues that came out in his confirmation hearing. And then, of course, just the other day, Senator Dianne Feinstein from California, she introduced a letter from an accuser who accused Brett Kavanaugh and a friend of his from holding her down and attempting to rape her at a party when they were in high school together.
Wow,
And,
that's a pretty serious allegation.
Pretty serious allegation. The woman did not want to come out, so they will not release who it is. She doesn't want to come and testify. She doesn't want to do any of that stuff. She had given this to her congressman like months and months ago when this guy first came up as a nominee. And she just felt like, yeah, this guy's a fucking dirtbag, and he should never actually be there. But if she's not going to come forward and testify, then, they can't really, how much can they take it into account when they're casting?
It's only
their
social
votes?
at that point.
Correct. So it's an accusation, and if they can't examine the accuser, then I guess,
Doesn't mean anything.
And that's a big problem with rape and sexual assault, too, that the accuser is always the one. It's like the government gets away with guilty until proven innocent with the IRS. Like, you're guilty. If the IRS says you cheat on your taxes, you have to prove that you didn't.
Yeah. That's
Everybody else is innocent until proven guilty.
right.
But the government, so with something like this, when a woman's claiming that she was, raped or attempted to be raped, sexually assaulted, it shouldn't be on her to have to step forward and reveal herself. It should be on, prosecutors and investigators to investigate the issue. But anyway, in the end, it still looks like this asshole is going to get confirmed, and he's going to be on the Supreme Court for, however many years he
Why
lives.
does it seem that just because of the process is pushing it?
Because it's 51 to 49. It's that simple. It's 51-49 in the Senate, and so as long as it's 51-49, we'll keep
That's
on
it.
getting kooky fucking decisions like this.
Yeah.
To put the worst possible nominee. The guy the Republicans said don't put up there.
Right.
Because of all this shit. Oh, I didn't mention. So it was like 5 o'clock in the evening on Thursday that news broke about this letter.
Yeah.
And that
I remember.
the senator handed it off to the FBI.
Right.
As she did, as she should. Like if Russians are trying to help you with an election. You should notify the FBI immediately. So she notified the FBI. Less than, 18 hours later, the Republicans put forth a letter signed by 65 women this guy didn't try to rape. Saying he was a great guy and he always treated women with respect. It's like, wait a minute. You got 65 women to sign a letter within 18 hours of this accusation?
So all this was already known behind the scenes.
More likely it was already known what this guy did. And so they already had a letter in their back pocket waiting for. And it's like, I could probably think of 100 women that I didn't try to rape. I can get on a letter. He only did 65, so I'm not impressed.
That's a weird number, too.
I'm not impressed with 65.
Yeah.
That's fucking weird, right?
Yeah. Because, if you had done 50 is like a number. It's solid. So you could be like, I did 50 signature. You say 65, it's like, well, that's a D.
Right. You ran out. You couldn't get to 70?
Yeah, you couldn't even get a C.
Right. What? And that's going to be my Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, for years.
Lucky
decades,
us.
Decades.
It's fucking crazy.
Justicing.
So 9/11 was
Recently.
recognized this past week. And on the morning of September 11th, you had, Hillary Clinton put out a tweet, remembering the fallen, and Barack Obama put out a tweet, remembering all those heroes who died that day. And then Trump put out a tweet accusing his Department of Justice of screwing him and his Attorney General of being a spineless coward who won't defend his president. And it's like, dude, even on September 11th, you roll out of bed and that's the first fucking thing that you tweet. Even if that's the first thing on your mind. That shouldn't be the first thing that you tweet that day.
Right?
But he did. And then he showed up at Pennsylvania, where the plane went down in the open field there in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And when he got off the plane, there was a line of people that were waiting to say hello to him. So he walks over and he does this. He does the whole, pumped up, like, yeah. And he goes over and shakes it. It's like, dude, you're at a 9/11 memorial. And you walk off the plane like all pumped up, like you're like at a campaign event. So that went viral instantly. And it's just like,
He's so oblivious to circumstance.
Completely.
Like, it's so weird.
It's the strangest thing ever.
You don't meet too many people like that either, and you definitely don't meet too many people who are like, I don't want to say successful, but he has money.
Right. He has he has money and success in the same way that Kim Kardashian has money and success.
Right.
By absolute
it's
fucking
weird,
accident.
Yeah, it's like
they
a
have
weird
no talent.
fucking thing.
Right. He has no talent. He has no discernible skills.
The
other
dice
than
roll was just really good.
That he inherited a bunch of money from his old man and then promptly went into debt and then got hooked up with the Russian mob. I mean, that's his skill set in life. That's been it.
Yeah.
That, and let me say that what I have is 20 times more than what I actually have. What I do is 20 times better than what it actually is, and so on and so forth. So that was 9/11 the way it's supposed to be celebrated, by pumping your fist and tweeting about your DOJ. So 9/11, we remember. So this week, Beto O'Rourke is running for Senate in Texas against Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
He's a Democrat. Really personable guy. Really, he's looks like it's pretty neck and neck, which is shocking because, it's fucking Texas.
I was going to say it's shocking because Ted Cruz is an alien monster.
You're right. And his dad killed JFK.
The fact that anyone's having trouble winning against that is
You would think.
hard
But
to
it is
believe.
Texas. So, I mean, Texas does put mentally incapacitated people and puts them on death row and then kills them.
And Cruz is definitely hard Texan.
Absolutely.
You just see it in him.
So, Willie Nelson came out this week and announced that he's going to be playing at a rally for Beto O'Rourke, for
cool.
Ted Cruz's opponent. And the Republicans and conservatives lit up. Like, how dare Willie Nelson? We thought you were a real patriot. And it's like, how fucking oblivious are these people?
What does that even mean?
Willie Nelson has been a pro-marijuana weed smoker his entire fucking life.
Yeah.
He sits there and drives his own vehicle on his Willie diesel, his biodiesel fuel that he makes. He is as fucking hippie liberal as you could possibly fucking be. What are they talking about?
I don't know.
Why are they shocked that somebody came out?
Why is being liberal anti-patriotic?
A, and then B, why the
sense.
but I just take that as granted why people understand that the Republicans are going to say that kind of thing.
So far.
Why would you think that Willie Nelson, who famously smoked, he said he smoked a joint at the White House
Yeah.
when Clinton was in office. I mean, why on earth?
The 90s.
Right. Why on earth did you think that makes him somehow a Republican? Fucking retards. Oh, people are so stupid. Anyway, so Michael Avenatti, Stormy Daniels' lawyer, went on Fox News this week, and he went on the Tucker Carlson show. And Tucker Carlson, by the way, is a fucking man boy. You know his wife is like 20 years older than him.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah. So when somebody marries somebody like that, it's total want to fuck your mommy much? Right. I mean, you need the mommy figure in your life, little boy. Oh, isn't that sweet? Him and his little bow ties he used to wear. Little prick.
Oh,
so
okay.
he brought Michael Avenatti on. And while they're doing the interview, one of the chyrons, on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Comes up and it literally says, not a joke, this is what it said on Fox News. It said, creepy porn lawyer exploring run for 2020.
What?
Creepy porn lawyer. So he saw it.
Yeah.
Because there's monitors everywhere.
Yeah.
And he called him out. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like, dude, my client was paid by the president that you support and defend to have sex with him. The guy who said that he didn't have to look at me. You think I have to pay for sex? Yeah. Yeah, you're a big fat white guy. Yeah, you have to pay for sex. And he paid for sex, then lied about paying for sex, then was forced to have to tell the truth that he actually paid for sex after his lawyer who paid for the sex had to agree that he did it illegally from campaign funds. And you're calling me a creepy porn lawyer?
Yeah.
I mean, are you fucking serious right now? And here's the thing. when you have a show, and this is a little tiny thing that we're doing here, but when you have a show and you bring a guest on, you can be hard on your guest, but fair, and push them for answers. That's okay. But you don't bring a guest on and then sideswipe them, blindside them, totally take a shit on them. I mean, that's just completely unprofessional. That would be one thing if he was saying it to the guy's face. But the creepy little fuck sat there and ran a chyron on the bottom of the screen because he didn't have the balls enough to say it to the guy's face. Cowards.
Yeah, they are. That's
a bunch of fucking cowards, man. I mean, it's amazing anybody watches that fucking network. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Even my father, who's pretty like hilariously into Trump, just for fun, I think, not because he like actually has any. But even him, he's like tired of Fox News lately. I see it in his eyes. He's like, this is so fucking stupid.
It's like when you turn on like this.
Like he'll still get excited about the chaos that Trump is as a person. Like that's really what excites him, is that he's a fucking wild man, and my dad can identify with being a wild man.
Yep.
So it's like not really the type of guy you want. But he can't even watch his own network anymore because
it's just
he's
ridiculous.
like, it's just nuts.
I mean, I remember on the day that Manafort got found guilty, and
there's new news about all that too.
Michael Cohen pled guilty on the same day. If you switched over to Fox News, they were covering that girl who got killed in the Wisconsin or whatever by the immigrant.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, dude, there is breaking news right now about like some pretty big people going to jail.
Don't even worry about it.
And it's like, oh no, immigrants are bad.
Yeah.
Let's not forget. And when we come back, more on immigrants. Right back after this commercial message from some shitty company because good companies don't advertise on Fox anymore. Invest in gold.
Yeah.
You know, those are the fucking kind of guys who advertise on Fox now. It's ridiculous.
In his defense, though, who hasn't done that? Who hasn't embezzled $100,000 from their campaign fund to pay off a hooker?
Yeah.
And then lie about it? Because, like, you don't want your buddies to know.
Dude, that's how I got to where I am today.
Yeah.
Once you're making like $1 million a year, like that's standard procedure on a Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, once you're worth that much, I mean, normally when I have somebody enter the house, they immediately sign a non-disclosure agreement. Just in case they see my unmentionables on the floor.
Well, that's right after they sign. That's when you take your pants off.
Yeah, I take my pants off, I break out my works, and start heating up my heroin. All right, man, let's do some tweets of the week. These are the people who keep me sane on Twitter every week. And if you're not following me on Twitter, please do so on Twitter at Hey Ronnie Wright. This one is from Hey at the Ricky DeVia. He's a singer, Ricky. I've seen some of the stuff he's done. He's pretty good. So he says, so to be clear, saying the deaths of 3,000 American citizens were faked is evil and disrespectful. Kneeling during the national anthem in protest against police brutality and racial injustice is not. And he's right on the money. I mean, one thing is completely patriotic, and the other thing is completely psychotic. I mean, let's be honest. So thank you, Ricky, at the Ricky DeVia. What else we got? T-Pain, my man. So at T-Pain USA, he is one of the biggest resistors out there. There was an article this week that a library in West Virginia was not going to carry the new Bob Woodward book, Fear. And T-Pain said, as if Trump supporters go to libraries. They only go to libraries to use the bathroom.
I go to the same diner every morning.
Yeah.
Everyone there knows me. But today I was sitting next to a guy who had the Fear book.
Oh, cool.
He was reading it.
Okay.
And he had borrowed it from a library.
Yeah.
It had the little thing on it with the Dewey Decimal System number.
Right.
I was like, dope.
All library system here, I have my request in. I get a digital download when it's available.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
You don't even got to bother anymore with getting the actual physical book.
I hope they put Amazon out of business.
Somebody was arguing about doing away with libraries, and I'm just like, fuck you.
Yeah, right.
How about I do away with gun ranges? Would you shit yourself if I said that? What else we got there, my man? Oh, this is great. So this is at Real Pharmacist. Jesus died for you. Trump lives for you. And he said, when you're totally not in a cult. Look at this fucking guy. And look at his necklace.
Is that
a body camera?
I don't know if it's a compass or a body. It's probably a body cam.
I mean, you know what I mean?
He's just looking to start trouble.
I saw that picture. I was like, is he wearing a body camera? I mean, come on, man. Jesus died for you. Trump lives for you. I mean, that's what these people believe, for real. I mean, really? Didn't we just talk about him lying about paying a lady for
it's not
sex? And...
I feel like it's just a thing that they people individually construct for themselves.
Yeah. Well, this is I have a personal relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
No, you don't. God's not real, you dummy.
Yeah.
Yes, there's an old white guy that lives in the clouds and he's watching you all the time.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's a mental illness. Besides the fact it makes masturbating really creepy. All right, what else we got? Oh, John Cusack is a big resistor, by the way. So John Cusack, I don't know if you know that the guy Peter or Peter, however they say it in Russian.
That guy works so hard.
Who's that?
John Cusack.
Yeah, writer, director, actor, man.
Holy
he's
shit,
the man.
what a talent.
So Pussy Riot, the guy from Pussy Riot, Peter from Pussy Riot, he wound up getting poisoned this past week.
Oh.
Right, because, they're all like fucking anti-Putin, civil unrest and all that shit. So we think the week before that was, it was like called, I think, Riot Fest. It was like, Pussy Riot playing a big concert festival.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
So John Cusack was there. He went to the Riot
cool.
Fest, and so he got to meet these dudes and all that kind of stuff. And so he was tweeting about, how the guy, he's recovering. He lived. He survived it. And some of these guys who survived these poisoning attacks,
No good.
I mean, it's ridiculous,
Sucks.
though. I mean, imagine if, artists and musicians here in America started getting poisoned.
That'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, if that became normal.
Yeah.
Which is what this, unfortunately, seems to be becoming, normal. So John Cusack is making sure that he expressed his admiration for activist dissidents. We like that term. Thank you, John Cusack. And thank you for saying anything. I appreciate that movie. This is my favorite. At Hunky Gay Jesus. It's completely legitimate and very funny. And it's trademarked. Hunky Gay Jesus.
Username makes post.
Awesome, man. That's just like the best Twitter handle. And so he's pretty concise, no? Yeah, fuck Trump. That's it. Is that Linus, right? Linus?
Yeah.
That's the guy who plays the piano.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's carrying the fuck Trump sign. Nothing wrong with that. It's not something that he's going to pull away as Charlie Brown tries to kick it. So that's a good thing. Fuck Trump. Thank you, at Hunky Gay Jesus. And Emily Nussbaum, I believe she's a writer. The Netflix algorithm is the new Myers-Briggs test. Have you had that happen, man? Where like you watch something that you normally would not watch, and then all your recommended shit on Netflix is fucked up for like a week?
No, and only because I consume so much media. I think I confuse Netflix.
It just overwhelms it.
Yeah, like I'll watch from every single genre. It doesn't even matter. So now it's trying to figure out what I like, and it's like not even close, man. Already seen that. Right.
I always like to watch it again. It's just like, hey, dude, I've got limited time.
Yeah.
I don't have time to watch it again.
Yeah.
So the Netflix algorithm, the new Myers-Briggs test, which is ridiculous if you ever know the history of the Myers-Briggs test. It was made up by two women who had no scientific background whatsoever. Crazy. All right, what else we got? Oh, this is me. So Trump tweeted the other day, when President Obama said that he had been to 57 states, very little mention in fake news media, all capitalized for no reason. Can you imagine if I said that, ... story of the year? And I said, remember when Obama didn't have everyone around him plead guilty to multiple felonies? Good times. Good times.
That's great.
Stupid asshole. Fucking Ingraham Angle. That's who he's tweeting at.
I want to know how many of the comments he looks at.
Oh, they got to keep it away from him, I'm sure.
Well, if he's doing it himself, he's got immediate access to the shit, you know?
Well, he's been ordered by a federal court to unblock everybody he's blocked.
No way.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because they're official statements from the United States president.
What the fuck?
It's the president's account, and those are all public record.
It's Twitter, though, man.
Right, but it's
not even a real thing.
It's as if you ban somebody from sending an email to the White House email address. You can't ban somebody from that. Yeah, I mean, it's us. It's ours.
That is fucking weird to me, though. That a Twitter account, verified or not, holds some sort of importance at all and relate it to anything. Like, that is madness to me.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Like, it's
the reason I find it crazy is that now that they're finally taking action against some of these abusive, vitriolic assholes who spend all their time on fucking Twitter.
You mean Twitter's taking action?
Yeah, and I'm not just talking about like the Alex Jones types. I'm talking about everybody who has 1,000 followers.
Pro censorship on Facebook and Twitter. It's ridiculous.
But
Let them ban whoever they want.
Right.
Like, I've been part of a forum for almost 20 years now, right? It's like a secret forum. One of the best things they're well known for is leaking the end to the last Harry Potter book. Somebody got it on our site. We released it and made the news. Anyway, I've been on this forum. There's only one rule on the forum, realistically, and it's
nobody talks about the forum.
Every time you go to post, it's like, don't be an asshat.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That's
is that
the
too
rule.
hard of a direction to follow?
If you fuck up the rule and we all decide you're a piece of shit, that's it.
Right. I mean, when that argument came out with the Alex Jones people, I'm just like, hey, you assholes just did a happy dance like a month ago.
I feel like
when the Supreme Court said that a baker didn't have to bake a cake for a gay couple. So fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
If I own a restaurant and I think you're a douchebag, I don't have to fucking serve you.
I don't equate getting banned off of Facebook and Twitter as censorship. Like, it's not.
Right.
In the sense that we use it. The government isn't saying shit here.
Correct.
You can talk on Twitter if the people who own it let you, you fuck. Like,
right. It's like if you came to my dad's house and you dropped an F-bomb and he told you, no, you're not staying in my house using that language.
Like, you're beat.
Oh, that's censorship, man.
It's not censorship.
I'm bringing
like,
this
I own
to the
this whole
Supreme
thing.
Court. That's crazy, right? So anyway, he needs to get the fuck off the Twitter. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to America is that he has a Twitter account.
Yeah.
Then became president and kept that Twitter account. It's fucking crazy, man. So anyway, those are our tweets of the week. We like to follow resistors. I'm always on the lookout for good tweets. So if I see you tweeting some good stuff, it will get put up here. I apologize for putting Donald Trump up there, but I had something funny to say, so I put it up there. Not that it's not going to get posted on every goddamn news organization every time he tweets that he just took a shit. And it's like, oh, this just in. The president tweeted he took a shit. At Ingraham Angle. At Lou Dobbs. He likes to tweet at those guys.
What the fuck?
He likes to tweet it. I don't know. He likes to tweet it like all the Fox personalities. He'll put something and put at Lou Dobbs. And it's like, well, that's really nice of you, Mr. President, that you're tweeting at Lou Dobbs, who I didn't even know was still alive until this president took office. I was like, oh, Lou Dobbs is still alive? He used to be on CNN back a million years ago. I'm like, oh, he's still alive? Good. I'm glad he's got a job. And then I looked at what he was doing. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not really glad he's got a job. All right. So the big thing, the biggest fake news over the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to have to ask your opinion on this, besides it dropped a day later or day before, the Fear book, which was the anonymous op-ed piece in New York Times. Did you read it? Did you see it?
I watched the news about it.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't read that whole thing, though. I didn't.
So,
I heard somebody went over the primary points that I was listening to.
Right. So basically, it was an op-ed piece that says, more or less, the president is a petulant child.
Yeah.
He does not understand the basics of the world, much less the government and the Constitution. He makes decisions based on views that he's held in his private life for his entire life, and he sees no reason to change them now. That he, even though he has access to the best information on the planet. At his disposal.
Library of Alexandria is open.
Right. 24/7, he can literally have anybody at 3 a.m. report to the White House and give him a PowerPoint slide presentation on any subject he'd like.
Right.
Video of any subject he'd like. He doesn't want any of that. The reason being, he knows best. And so the people around him that know better have tried to keep him away from making decisions on specific issues. They've actually taken things off of his desk.
They slow walk
to keep him from signing things that they knew would be detrimental.
Right.
They've slow walked issues. They've dog whistled him and got him to start tweeting about other things to get his mind off of the thing he was thinking about. I mean, it's funny, but so scary that that's the guy in the White House with the nuclear codes and everything else, that he's in charge of my safety and your safety. Yeah.
That's so, I don't know about that.
So who wrote it was the big question.
Right.
So people were pulling specific phrases and words like the word lodestar. There's only one person in all of the Trump administration who's used that word multiple times, and that is Vice President Mike Pence. Lodestar. And of course, everybody denied it. But then again, you know, that's like, you know, you watch any cop show where they get a guy and they pull crack out of his pocket. He's like, it's not mine. I mean, that's of course what your response is going to be. So if anybody says, "Hey, did you write the op-ed piece?" Of course not. No, it's ridiculous. I would never write such a thing. Everybody's going to say that. So you're not going to get to the bottom of it that way. Could it be Melania? Or is Trump just called Melanie?
You think it'll leak? Like the source?
I think at some point,
at the rate at which news develops now, like a given subject, right?
Remember how long Deep Throat stayed quiet? It was 30-something years.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was pre-internet, though.
True. True.
You know, we're like 30 times faster now.
Well, I mean, they were asking like New York Times reporters if they were going to try and find out who it was, because it was the New York Times OpEd board.
Yeah.
That knows who it is.
Like, there are people who know who it is.
So they literally work on the same floor with like adjoining offices.
Right.
I mean, you've got people who are trying to find out the name of the person who wrote it, and the people who know the name working side by side.
Like, that's a little...
And the guy said, you know what? That's a really good question. Yes, is the answer. Yes, the New York Times reporters will be trying to find out who the person is that wrote the op-ed.
Wow.
Like, thank God for fucking honest journalism.
Yeah.
We would not know a tenth of the shit that's been going on since this guy took office if it weren't for good investigating journalists. We have no investigative powers in the Congress because there's no oversight there, and the Republicans will never try and do anything to stop this guy from doing and saying the worst, most horrible things. So if it wasn't for real journalists out there tracking down stories, we would be completely in the dark. My guess is that it's Barron Trump. Because a kid that age just thinks his dad's a total fucking tool, and he just wrote this op-ed. He like dictated it to his Mexican nanny, and got it published in the New York Times. That's what I think it is. I think it's Barron.
Barron.
It'd be fucking awesome if it was. He's just like, oh, let's totally fuck them up.
Other than Pence, who would you hope that it is?
I would hope that the person who wrote that would be the guy who was handing in his resignation letter at the same time he was handing in that op-ed piece.
Yeah, it
to the New
seems
York
pretty
Times.
dire from the words of the own guy.
Right. You're not doing me any favors, dude.
Yeah.
Because he's going to say and do the same
Just
things he's going to say and do, whether you're there or you're not there. Don't sit there and make yourself like you're the fucking, you're the dam against the flood. You're not. You're not.
But that plays well in the media.
Right, which is why you would think the guy would play it up and do the whole thing. So that was the op-ed piece. I'm waiting. One of these days we're going to hear that it was Barron Trump and that he totally fucked Mike Pence by putting the word lodestar in there because he thinks Mike Pence is a fucking tool too. And then, of course, finally, the big news this week is just broke a day ago, and crickets from the Twitter feed, is that Paul Manafort has cut a deal with Robert Mueller and the special prosecutor.
Right,
that's huge news. This is the guy who brought in all the Russian influence and Ukrainian influence. This is the guy who changed the Republican Party platform at the convention. This is the guy who introduced Mike Pence as the vice president. He was the guy who basically handpicked Mike Pence as vice president to run with Donald Trump. Trust me, Donald Trump didn't know who the fuck Mike Pence was.
Yeah, for
before,
real.
Right. Okay. And also, what's his face at the State Department, the Exxon Mobil dude. So, I mean, you have him cutting a deal. I can only guess that he's got a lot to say about what went on in the Trump campaign, including collusion or conspiracy, which is the actual name of the crime. Not a word.
Trump's not going to survive Manafort testimony.
Yeah. Not a word from Trump.
Yeah, no, nothing.
Every other thing they tweeted out immediately.
That is a sign.
That's the sign
That's a fucking
of
sign
the coming
there.
apocalypse. So I think the odds.
I'm not saying anything. You got to. That probably got his attention.
Yeah, man, because they were just days before saying what an honorable man he was for standing up and not flipping on him. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like,
so the two charges, it looks here, like, are money laundering and illegal lobbying for the Kremlin-friendly group in Ukraine. Those are the two Manafort federal charges.
Not only that, but he had to forfeit like $40 million worth of assets. Mm-hmm. It was like properties in Manhattan, in the Hamptons, millions of dollars in bank accounts.
Giuliani was quick to say that Trump has nothing to do with Manafort's cooperation.
Right.
Okay,
right,
buddy.
because he had stuff to tell us about some banker that we don't care about. He had information on Trump. That's why they cut a deal. Otherwise, the guy was going to spend the rest of his days in jail. So he had the opportunity, and this is the last, the kicker was this. He had a choice. He could go through the trials, get found guilty. He already got found guilty on 8 charges. Found guilty on more charges and go and stay in jail. And get Trump to pardon him later on. Right. Which is what, from we understand, he's been dangled that by the president and his people. Like, hang in there, we're going to give you a pardon. Or he could go to Robert Mueller. He could stay in jail through the entire time that he's going to cooperate with them. He could forfeit almost all of his real estate and assets, and he could plead guilty to multiple felonies. And he chose Robert Mueller. Yeah. He trusted the special prosecutor to keep his word more than he trusted Donald Trump to give him a pardon.
Oh, that's an easy.
But I mean, this guy's not getting an easy deal. He's going to wind up serving years.
Right.
Even with his cooperation. And he just gave up all these tens of millions of dollars of assets.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked.
He has to appear anywhere he needs to appear. He has to give testimony anytime he's asked for testimony. And if he fails on any of those things, all the charges revert back and he fucking goes back on trial and he goes to jail for basically the rest of his life. He's 69.
Damn.
And instead of choosing a pardon, he trusted Robert Mueller's word over Trump, which, let's be honest, I would too. All right, man, that's all we're going to have for this week's episode of The Middle. We thank you for joining us. You can check us out online on Twitter at Hey Ronnie Wright. The new website is going to be out shortly. I have it basically up and running as a test right now, where we have it running. It's going to be HeyRonnieWright.com. We're also on Patreon. We're also on Facebook. You can watch Justin's show, Mission Accomplished, here on the Howard Broadcasting Services Network. For Justin, for Ryan, for everybody here at Howard Broadcasting, we will see you next week.